Hey everyone, it's Nico, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the newest Game Boy Color homebrew release by Guardian Games Studio titled Jordan's 1980's Adventure, which for any of you that have played their previous release with Winsley's Guardian, you'll find it to be quite a bit similar in a lot of ways, and at the end of this game, I was starting to think that maybe it's in the same universe as this one. So maybe Guardian Games Studio is doing a Guardian Games Studio cinematic universe? I don't know. But anyways, this is a game that's available for pre-order now on Kickstarter, and you'll most likely be able to pick up a copy on their website afterwards, even if you missed the Kickstarter. So I'll have links to all this stuff below. But I did want to show off what you would get because I know so many of you probably really like physical media like I do. So Spencer was nice enough to send over a copy for review, but all the opinions here are my own. So naturally, you gotta have a manual, right? So this is their manual, and it's nothing special. You got some advertising on the back of their other projects, and then on the front, you get some information, some screenshots, and about the studio. And then in terms of the box seems like an upgrade from their previous releases, which with Winsley's Guardian, you can kind of see that it's more of like a matte finish, and the colors don't quite pop as much. But this has more of a glossy finish to it. You can kind of see my overhead light there kind of shining a bit on it. And these are really nice boxes, and they do have the cardboard insert for the game. And then, naturally, the most important part is the game. So this is a blue cart. Their games don't come in the Game Boy Color style, where this is kind of like a little bit raised. But these are basically like the original Game Boy carts. So this one is blue, which is the perfect color in my opinion. But yeah, so I did want to show off the physical edition. It's obviously also available digitally. So links to all that stuff below, but now let's get into the game. Now, first and foremost, as the title suggests, you're going to be playing as Jordan, and this takes place in the 1980s. And your main goal here is simply to collect all the different pins from all the different arcade machines throughout the game, and then take down the final boss at the end, which is Lucas. Yes, that Lucas.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
So to achieve this, you're going to wake up first thing in the morning. You're going to head downstairs, have a little talky talk with Mama. She's going to give you your allowance and cut you loose into the world. Now, it's not massive, but it does contain about a dozen or so different screens that you can navigate through and explore the world. There are side quests you can complete for your neighbors, and they'll give you some money for your troubles, and that is the main way that you can earn some extra coin to spend on the arcade machines. Then when you're ready, you can head over to the multi-floor arcade, where you're going to be treated with about a dozen different arcade games to play. Now, most of these are homages and drawing inspiration from classic arcade game greats, like Frogger, Dig Dug, just to name a few. But there are also console games that are going to play a bit more modern or not so much arcade style that you can indulge in. And I'm not going to go into every single arcade game because if you play this for yourself, I don't want to spoil the surprise of each and every one of them. But I do want to highlight some of the highs and some of the lows of these arcade games since so many of them play so differently. Now I'm going to start with the positives and I think the highs. So the two that I enjoyed the most, the first is a House of Dead style on-rail shooter. I was surprised to see this here, but I actually really enjoyed it. I think my only criticism of this one would be that since the Game Boy Color does have two buttons, you only use the one button to shoot, and I think the other button could have been held down to speed up the movement of your cursor, because sometimes going from the far left to the far right or vice versa is a bit tricky. And in games like this, your main goal is simply to get the high score, or to beat a par score, I should say. And then other games have a few different levels, and then your goal is to play through them. An example of this is by far my favorite minigame in the entire adventure, and that's this Winsley Guardian themed Zelda style game. Surprising, right? I know. Who would have thought that the Zelda themed game would be my favorite? I mean, it's not at all obvious that I'm a big Zelda fan. This one is fantastic. You start off, you grab your sword, or in this case, since you're playing as Winsley, it's your pool noodle. There's a little bit of an overworld containing a handful of screens, then you're gonna head into a dungeon, and then at the end of that, defeat a boss, and then you're done. A lot of these mini games are really short, but they are really fun. And then as far as the low points go, the only two that I could think of that I really had an issue with is first, Diabetor. This one was brutal because the hit detection is really bad here. There are times where you're going to shoot right through the enemy, and it's very clear you're hitting the enemy, but for some reason, I don't know if the hitboxes are just off and not quite lined up with the representation of the enemies or what's going on here. But there are actually times where it does also work to your benefit, and you hit your shots when you shouldn't have. But I think it hurt me more than helped me, so this one I didn't really like. It took me more tries than it should have to play through it, because it's really not that hard, but the wonky hitboxes make it pretty difficult. And then the other one is actually another game that I really should have been good at, because I'm a huge fan of the original Galaga, and there's one that's here that plays like that, but it's just really hard because the projectiles coming at you come so fast, and your movement is so slow. You can't just freely scroll side to side. You have to tap the button, and you move like little pixels and spaces at a time. I don't know why you can't just freely move left to right. I don't know if this was as intended or if it's just kind of buggy. But yeah, this one was harder than it needed to be, unfortunately, and it's one I should have been good at. But other than the dozen or so arcade games that are available here, it's pretty fun to just explore around. There's a 7-Eleven where you can buy some very 80s themed snacks, which will give you some buffs. And then there are other games that you can play or engage in that are different than arcade games. There's a basketball game. You can also fish to earn some extra coins. And there's little various things you can do, like going down a slide or riding your bike if you want to, because you can earn a bike in this, which is basically a way to travel around very quickly. Now, the problem with the bike is that it did introduce some issues. I had the game soft lock on me when moving off screen while riding the bike. Thankfully, I became cognizant of this very early on, so I would always save frequently to prevent a loss of progress. But if you play this, just take my word for it. Don't use the bike and go off screen. Make sure you're on foot when you do that, and you'll prevent this no problem. Once you've earned all your arcade pins and you're ready to take on the end of the game, while I don't want to spoil this for you, I do want to suggest that the end of this game felt a little bit disappointing. Your showdown with Lucas felt like it should have been a culmination of everything that you've played and encountered up to that point. Maybe a few rounds of games and you gotta win best 2 out of 3 or something like that. This ending played like a scene from the movie from the early 2000s, Grandma's Boy.
Woo! That game is fun! Oh my god.
A new high score!
What does high score mean? New high score, is that bad?
That's all I'll say about it, but this game took me a few hours to play through, and honestly, even in spite of the few issues that I had with it, I did genuinely still have fun with it. I did also report the issues that I had with it, so hopefully they'll fix them. I do know that the cartridges, boxes, and manuals are already in hand, so if you pick this up for yourself in a physical format, you're going to run into some of these things that I ran into as well, but hopefully they'll at least fix them for the digital release, and if they create any more cartridges, that they'll get the updated version. So if there's anything on that front, if I hear back from the head of Guardian Game Studio, Spencer, I'll leave a comment below to update you guys. But yeah, this was another fun one. I didn't enjoy it as much as their previous game, Winsley's Guardian, but I did have a fun few hours with it, and it did remind me of my childhood, because I was born in the mid-80s and in that era of these arcade classics. So if you're into that sort of thing and you want to journey back to the past, I highly recommend this game. Definitely check it out. It's a fun one. Absolutely. Support indie devs that continue to make fun games for retro hardware. I love covering these on the channel, so I hope you guys enjoy my coverage of these games. I do want to end this video and ask all of you, what's some of your favorite Game Boy Color homebrews, or maybe any retro homebrews are? Let me know in the comments below, because this is a scene that I've been more and more active in throughout 2025, whereas last year I know I didn't cover a lot of these types of games, but I find that the simplicity of these games is a lot more fun than some of the more modern indie games or even AAA games are that I play and cover, because they take so long to beat. Like, yeah, okay, Jordan's 1980's adventure was a few hours, 2 to 3 hours for me to complete it. I had a full inventory and I got all the pins and beat the final boss, rolled the credits. That might sound like, oh, that's it? It was so short? No, that was 2 to 3 hours of fun, and I enjoy short games like this. So let me know some of your favorites down in the comments below, and also look forward to more reviews from Guardian Game Studios' new releases, because Spencer also sent me 2 more games to cover. So we're probably going to cover this one first, and then we're going to dive into Soarin' Rising next. But this one might wait a bit, because I'm going to try and review it when he's going to have it available to purchase, because it's not right now. So look forward to those. And as always, I appreciate you watching, all the likes, comments, thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you next time.